Bueno, la historia al menos que tenemos contra Loud es que, si no me equivoco, nunca le hemos ganado. Volvieron un poco al core que tenían cuando fueron campeones, así que definitivamente van a ser un partido difícil.
Para manter isso contra a Leviatán, acho que a gente tem que com certeza melhorar o nosso trabalho.
Luiz, o Luiz de novo, o Les vem também. Olha aí a vantagem brasileira. Luiz com 14 de vida, vamos ver, Les levando mais 2, é ponto da Loud.
Um ponto que se deve evitar com certeza é o aspas individualmente, que se você conseguir anular ele para tentar fazer ele ter um mau jogo, já quebra bastante o ritmo deles, porque o aspas é um jogador que tem muito impacto na partida.
Easy kills coming through from Aspas. Headshot onto Zeppa, the third round, the updraft, and the I-By Power Ace.
Bueno, creo que definitivamente cuando nos enfrentamos a equipos anteriores de nuestros compañeros, creo que queremos hacer como ese step up para decirles como ahora es nuestro y vamos a amasar.
Welcome back to VCT Americas and our second match on this Saturday. It's Loud taking on Leviatán. Of course, I'm Golden Boy here once again with Baby, Mimi, and Ender as we look to discuss all the latest and happenings for this series because it's going to be an interesting one. Now, of course, Loud is coming into this one a bit on the ropes, if you will, right? They lost to a Brazilian team for the first time ever. The streak stopped at 25, and I wish Wyatt was here so I could make an Undertaker reference and a wrestling reference, but he's not. So I just got to live with myself
here. So you have to talk about VALORANT. It's a real shame.
What a shame, right? But man, 25 wins straight for Loud, and for it to come crumbling like that against Furia, definitely not something I thought would have been seen happen.
And I'm going to be real, it should have ended at 24. This is a Loud who I think has been really struggling to find their form, playing 2 close games against both the other Brazilian teams in the league and not being able to pull it off here against MIBR. I mean, Furia. Against Furia was the one that they ended up losing there. And
my honest reaction.
True.
He doesn't miss in-game or out-of-game.
No,
he really doesn't. Absolute banger. Yeah, I mean, gotta say, that is if you're Loud and you're at this point in the competition where you're getting down to the wire and lose out something like that, like, that's heartbreaking. For sure.
It absolutely is for this team. And, I mean, I think that they haven't really found their identity since making these roster moves.
And the worst part is, because of that loss, they have now put them in the situation where they can't lose anymore.
Yeah, they have to be flawless.
Yeah.
Which is going to be so difficult.
And it's not even in their own hands at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. It does not look like, things are going to be all rosy and peachy over the Loud camp. They need this win today. But standing in their way is a bit of a juggernaut. It's Aspas, and he's standing by with Geek Heavy to get his thoughts on today's matchup.
Joining me right now, we have Leviatán's Aspas, always calm, cool, and collected. So I gotta ask you this: going up against Loud, do you think you as a duelist, what are your confidence levels as a duelist going up against Loud?
I think my confidence is like always on top, because if you are playing duelist and you don't have confidence, you are probably in the wrong role. So always when I'm going to play a match, I'm super confident.
That's good. Now, historically, Lev have yet to beat Loud. Do you think today is the day?
Maybe today is the day, but we're gonna see in the match soon.
Exciting stuff, man. Can't wait to see it. Good luck.
Well, good thing is we have a duelist who is very confident in himself
Maybe a little
over the
too
course
confident.
of his career. You agree with what he said there, Aspas? What Aspas said?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Aspas is he's so level-headed, like Geek Heavy said, and also he's just so consistent and reliable. Like he first of all, how can you not like him? Because he doesn't like the furthest extent of his trash talk right there was basically like, I'm always confident in what I do. So basically, it doesn't.
We could win, we could not win. Man.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't want to jinx it. Like, he knows he's already the best, but he doesn't like.
I mean, he very
fully
easily
play
could
that
have
role.
gone up there and was like, yeah, I'm playing against my 47-year-old IGL who's
duelist
as
as well.
a 47-year-old, that's mean.
Sadak is not 47.
I'm just kidding around. But you know what, though? You bring up Sadak. That actually is a great opportunity for us to talk about the struggles that this team has had, right? Sadak has talked about it quite openly multiple times about the things that they have struggled with. One of the things in particular was what's going on in the duelist role. And, with Tui's playing more of those jet maps, which he was great when we saw him play, I mean, you got an interesting situation here playing out. Now, he, of course, says Tui's and I started discussing what we do regarding the duelist role in game. Tui said he was not comfortable playing playing as a duelist, and I assumed it. This change really had an impact on us because in theory, we're okay, but when we're playing, it isn't working.
I think for me, what I took away from this, that was like probably the worst thing, was that Sadhak literally said, I think it was an extension of that interview or another one, basically that he cannot even IGL on the duelist role. And I think that's the main thing that I was so like questioning, because I was like, well,
like what's going on?
There's tons of other, you know, duelists per se in other games, like CS has Kerrigan, who was most notably an entry, who would go in and then he would mid-round because he was the IGL of like all the rosters that he's been on.
Luckily for him, he doesn't have to play Neon.
but still, this is what I expected, because there's so much gravity on the character of Neon. And his first showing, Sadak's first showing on Neon, he looked great. So he struck fear in the teams that he had to play against, but since he wasn't able to actually win through the IGLing aspect,
but I think the issue
not
is
the main duelist.
The macro has really taken a sharp downfall for Loud.
And it's a massive, massive issue because, and I think this is actually a year-long problem for Loud, because to answer the question down there, I don't think they have had a roster this year that can play a meta comp on all 7 of the maps that are in the pool. And when you look at these 5 players, like, all 5 of these players could compete for best in their role on any top team in the league. It is not a player problem. It is a team composition problem. The fact that at the start of the year, they had QCK in the team that played Jet on a few maps, but on so many maps where you have to be playing the Jet, they were locking in Phoenix because either he didn't feel comfortable on the Jet or the team wanted to go a different direction, to now basically Sadhak being in a position where he feels he has to play Neon to make it work. Like, I think this team has much bigger issues than the 5 players, but it's a composition issue.
Which is, again, like they added Pankata back into the roster, which I think on paper is a change that seems good. He's super experienced with the team. He's still a great player, but it still just doesn't make sense in the roles. You have multiple world-class controller players on this team with Tuis and Kawa. You have Sadhak who can flex to any role, but he's being forced into this weird position because no one else wants to pick up that primary duelist slot. And I think that's especially hard in this meta, where there's an emphasis on Raze, there's an emphasis on Neon, some of the most mechanically difficult, movement-focused characters where you really have to be locked in on your crosshair and how you're pathing. It is so difficult to be calling a game while you are playing those agents, so I don't blame Sadhak for those struggles, but really, there is a deeper issue with this team that is no one player's fault, but it's accumulated together to allow that is not getting wins.
The fact is, after Loud lost Ospas, they did not need a new Ospas to play for them, but they did need someone that played Ospas's role, and that is what they have not had all year long.
Yeah, and bring Pankata in, who we saw statistically, definitely contributed, played his role, right? But as you had mentioned, right, you just have so many tools at your disposal, but unfortunately, they just can't be used in the ways that they need to be used right now.
And the thing that's crazy is today they have to play against Ospas, that role that they've still been trying to fill.
Yeah, that's the sweet irony of this whole situation here. Now, of course, here, let's, as we dive into Loud's duelist situation here, here's an interesting head-to-head. Sadhak versus Ospas, and hey, way to go. Way to go, Elder Statesman, looking pretty solid up there. But granted,
is that top stat a new one, the ASC?
I don't believe this. Is this real? Is this scientific?
It's the American Scientific Committee. That's the new stat up there.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I personally can't believe it, because Ospas...
But to be fair, Sadhak has not been bad as an individual.
No.
Wait, you guys are both saying the same thing.
I do not think he has performed at a very high level on the Neon maps.
Okay.
Straight up. Like, the debut he had it, his first game looked good. Great. His second game was pretty miserable. Like, he was getting diffed by Jaw. But
but you were going up against Jaw.
I feel like when I'm watching the Loud games, I'm seeing so much of the issues with this team is like these late rounds, once they get set up into a position, like their initial idea doesn't work out. Instead of trying to find, normally you'd see Loud be a really good team. Sadhak makes a call to reset the round. We find our next idea. We're resetting with our next wave of initiator utility. That stuff has gotten so much sloppier, I think, where players are kind of going out, taking some solo fights, doing things a little bit on their own. They're committing into sites sometimes that they probably shouldn't have been. The cleanliness of the IGLing has not been up to snuff as what it was before for Loud, because that's always something we've prided them on.
And Pankata's just sitting there in a 1v4 like every round.
Yeah.
And then eventually he actually wins one, and that's their only saving grace to come back into a series. You know, there's a lot that Loud need to fix up and clean up, and it does start with even just defaulting, because we saw a team just run through them on their defaults. They can't even default, get into places correctly. They're getting pushed to the brim.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's actually go ahead and send it back over to Kickoff. He's actually standing by with Les to get his thoughts on what's going on with Loud heading into this matchup against Leviatán.
All right, joining me right now, we have Les. Now, I got to ask you the question. Coming off that loss against Furia, pretty much breaking Loud's streak that they had against other Brazilian teams. Where's the team's mentality today going into this match against Lev?
Cara, a gente tem pouca chance de se classificar, nosso time sabe, mas a nossa mentalidade é não desistir. A gente ainda tem chance de classificar para os playoffs, então a gente não vai desistir nunca.
Yeah, we know that we have very little chances to go on to the playoffs, but the mindset is not to give up and go after these little chances we have.
Honestly, best of luck today.
Bit of a heartbreaker there for Les and the rest of Loud, recognizing the difficult situation that they're in here. By the way, do want to remind everyone, that graphic that we ran earlier that showed the comparison of Neon between Aspas and Sada was reversed. It was flipped.
I knew it.
But for a moment there, I think
we've
up my
got
boy.
a Loud fan somewhere back behind the screen there that was like
Loud
fudging the number.
Just switching the numbers up.
Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, yeah, it is kind of sad, and I feel like they didn't have many options considering the fact that they didn't have, quick workout for them. Like, in terms of players that were available that they could have picked up for this stage on Duelist, there wasn't really many. The only notable player that I could think of that might have a visa, because you got to keep in mind that there's a bunch of visa problems going on right now, is maybe DG Zin. But there's so much baggage that people think of when you think of DG Zin, right?
And still, that means you have to decide to drop Pancata or Tui's or someone else on this roster. It's tough to make space for a change like that.
And Pancata was a great pickup. I mean, he's a great player, and he's putting up big numbers now that he looks comfortable on the stage again.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that if Pancata can continue to do that, maybe he could be part of that, upward swing for Loud, but it's going to be very difficult, and they're going to need a lot more than that. Now, despite a poor showing at Kickoff and Masters Shanghai, Leviatán comes into this stage right now, #1 in Americas, and they're the first team that has clinched their spot in the playoffs, so they're going no matter what happens with the result of this game. But for Leviatán, Ender, they're going to want to just continue each and every regular season game. Same domination, same way they're approaching it. They don't want to stop the machine.
Yeah, this is our best regular season team in Americas, right? Dominated in the first stage and kept it rolling into the second one. And the thing that's been so impressive to me is, first of all, had to check in and make sure Aspas was going to be playing the Neon. He does. It looks great, completely locked and loaded there. But I also think the way this team has been playing on just a fundamental level, everyone is playing off of the buddy they've got next to them so crisply. And I don't think you could say the same out of all the teams in our league, and especially their opponents today.
And I think when you look at this roster, the players up there are so scary. Tex, King, Mizzino have all been having great returns since coming back from Masters Shanghai. Aspas is always Aspas, and Calm even has been improving his own individual play.
Yeah, he said he's playing the best he's ever played before.
And that's kind of always been the case. But what they were lacking in playoffs in Shanghai was the fundamentals, right? Like, they looked like a team that was playing a lot of messy VALORANT. I'm thinking of that lower final against G2. But since coming back, it's been so clean, man. That game you were talking about, the Icebox against EG, was just lovely. Every round, every retake, they have double swings set up. They're really taking the time to get the little things right, and that's so important.
It's especially, you can see it so clearly in post plants on either side. Post plants on attack, retakes on defense. It is so clean how they play and how they're always having 2-3 players holding one line. They'll just focus fire around 1 or 2 zones on the map where it'll just impossible for the other team to work through.
Yeah, they're heating up, and they're heating up at a point right now where you exactly want to be. But let's go ahead and set the stage here for what we are going to witness, because if Leviatán manage to pick up the dub here, they will guarantee themselves a top 2 spot. Let's not forget, G2 have now clinched themselves into the playoffs, so you got 3 teams locked in.
What's so important, though, is getting that top 2 slot means you're playing double elimination immediately. No single elim game, and it also means you are 1 match win away from making it to Seoul. It is a huge advantage.
Yeah, a massive advantage. So I know I said before that if Leviatán don't win this game, it's not the end of the world. Technically right, but also they want to win this game.
I mean, the world won't literally end, and I want to be clear to all of you watching, we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay. We're going to be more than okay because, folks, I don't know if you see the time. It looks like action's about to begin. That's right, folks. Let's go ahead and send it down to the stage and bring out our two teams. Got Loud versus Leviatán. See you in a sec.
Riot Games Arena, recebam o primeiro time, a esperança brasileira, faz o L pra Loud!
Del otro lado, el monstruo marino quiere más victorias. Con ustedes, Leviatán.
The stakes for today's matches have been high. For our first match, both teams wanted to pick up that win to try and lock in their spot in the playoffs. But for this one, Leviatán wants to secure top 2 so that they can avoid having to go through that single elimination matchup, and they'll be one game away, from qualifying for Champions. But for Loud on the other side of the stage, they want to try and stay alive in this competition, and they have to win this game. They have no other choice.
And they've looked rough their last 2 series. Close games against both Brazilian teams, losing one of those for the first time. As we look at the maps, though, we are starting out on Lotus, which means we're probably going to get the Neon. And I think the big questions are, how is Sirak going to be able to perform? Especially against Aspas on the other side.
And I think he will have to, because Leviatán have been lights out on Icebox, map number 2. I do not think really anyone in the league right now is taking that map off of them, so you better show up in game 1.
Yeah, Aspas is the king of Icebox. Right? let's just say it how it is.
Frozen king.
So I'm surprised that teams even let Icebox through against Leviatán, because Aspas has a playground of his own on that map, and he's always been like that.
Like, this team made EG look like a tier 2 team the last time they played them on Icebox. And EG has been really good this stage.
Real. All right, well, I think we got a little bit of a spoiler on screen, but we'll talk about that in a second here. We'll see what we end up getting in for the agents that are locked in. That being said, though, you're so right. That Icebox, we get to map 2, Leviatán, they're certainly going to be on a pathway for that top 2 in the playoff bracket. But that being said, Loud on the other hand, I mean, look, this is a team that we talked about G2's resiliency. I want to see that same resiliency here for Loud. You got veterans on that team, guys who have won championships. They need to dig deep here and now. You got no other choice.
Last time Loud played this, they were locked in Neon, and they're moving away.
Whoa.
Big fan of this change. Tui's will go into the Raze. He was electric when he was playing the Jet before for this team.
And you get Sadak on a breach.
Sadak on breach is the big one.
He can set people up.
He is so good on this map, or so good on this agent on every map.
Ooh, and Aspas locks in that Neon.
I mean, this comp, I think, is the best comp on the map right now that Lev is playing. They're great with it. Aspas showed how good he is, and the stuns from Mazzino were excellent. But damn, Loud, I think this is the right pivot to make if they want to save their season here.
It's time to see if Loud made the right call, or can Leviatán shut them down despite the changes? Let's send it over to your casters. You know them, you love them. It's Vansili and Rivington.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. Indeed, this is going to be a very fun game now for Loud and Leviatán, Riv, because at the desk, they've prefaced this before, that Loud versus Leviatán has always been a loss for Lev. But today, this is also a refreshed Leviatán that has been making waves in this stage where Loud hasn't been looking too great with this lack of duelists that everybody's been talking about.
So much kind of timidness, this lack of strength from Loud that we know the innovation that they usually have seems to have almost kind of taken them back a bit. And now they're rethinking things. And yeah, Leviatán, you heard Aspas today. He's saying, you know, anything can happen, but it was so comfortable. Like Hakeem said, always so calm, collected, and they're like, yeah, well, let's just see. It's a few seconds until we get on the map. It'll be fine. So we'll have to see what they have. Leviatán will start on an attack here. 7-1 is their record right now, looking like one of the best teams in the Americas. And they are going to start off aggressive towards this A Rubble. Vans making a lot of noise here at door to start.
But Tui's is the one that makes the first noise, changing into the role back to the duelist and gets the first headshot onto Tex. Meanwhile, though, Leviatán has also come out with a different composition. Aspas on this Neon, on Lotus, and by losing on that first blood, they have to reassess how they want to work the map, especially now that Les has flanked from behind.
We'll have to see how Tui's continues on the raise. Starting off like that to get the showstoppers going is going to be a very big boon for the side of Loud. And as well, this push here by Les, just so much information being relayed over to the team. Loud don't even have to move that much, and they've already taken control of the tree area anyways.
Just by doing that fault line and keeping King inserted at this spot, it really rotates Loud around and weaken up the defenses for a bit. But now the trip gets broken. You have Loud getting ready to set up here for the crossfire, and Kawazima is trying to get contact. Aspas is down to 34. Now Aftershock, he avoids it for now. As he pushes through though, Tui scores that second on the board, but Calm answers right back here at the doorstep. Pankata trying to assist and avenge his teammates, but the advantage goes back to Leviatán.
Still the 3v2. Chip damage everywhere right now, Vansili. Nobody looking good for this fight.
Did get some information from that hunt, but too little too late. Now only one stands, and it's Tui's to fall, and Calm scoring 3 into the round allows Leviatán to pick up the pistol.
Really nice job by Leviatán to play within the utility windows. I mean, look at how much utility you have to deal with that in that Loud composition. You got the fade, you got the breach, and you got so much more that's going to be coming into the site. So they slowly creep up. Leviatán takes a bit more space, and in a moment it looked like Aspas was almost left out to dry over by Stairs connector, but the team was still ready to follow through. They're just waiting for that next window, and a lot of patience paid off there for the Leviatán. We'll see how Loud reacts as we get into this second round.
Reacting with 3 players on the C-mount camera to even spot it up here if they could play aggro if they want, but it's a slide through from Aspas, scoring first. Les, though, avenges his teammates, and that's the camera that gets broken, but they still have an opportunity to pinch here with Kawadzin inserted right at the revolving door. They could also be ready for this fault line too if there's more pressure coming out from Leviatán towards the C-mount. There he comes. Paranoia first. Haunt towards the back, gets the ping on the defenders. Leviatán is able to just overtake the C site and stronghold it. And the last 2 players here for Kawadzin and Sadat, looks like they were trying to flank behind, but too little too late.
Spike plant should be able to clean up these last 2, and Leviatán strat towards A, strat towards C. Playing behind each other well, collecting the kills, being able to close out these last few as the ultimate start to come online. Mazzino quite a handful away. Let's see where Aspas is after going down and still getting these fights himself too. So that feels good for Lev. They come out, they start strong. We'll just have to see what Loud has once they start getting guns here and they can get themselves back into the play.
This is definitely going to have to be an important call now for Sadak on top of that, having to reassess and readjust every single time because they're not used to this Leviatán composition here on Lotus with this Neon coming out. Mazzino on this breach.
Yeah.
Mazzino, who's been on fire last week against EG as this breach, and continues here to set up Aspas in round number 3. Bonus round now coming out for Leviatán.
All right, so insta fault line. You can see it already counting down there for Sadak, seeing how they're trying to use this. We talked about those windows Leviatán would be looking for. And this, I feel like, sets up Loud a little bit better for that second, that re-hit that Leviatán would want to look for if they're using fault line right away from Sadak. So easy for Loud to keep their comfort positions here in that default defense. They did have 2 over towards C, which has been rotated out here. So now Pankata is left alone to his own devices to try and stall as he's going to need some help here in a second.
That was his last smoke, too, to try to cover the front C side. Still has Paranoia, but wants to keep it for the retake for Loud inside the C side as Leviatán overtakes it. They're taking their time, though, and trying to fight towards the spawn. There's that first contact. aacute scoring first once again. Counter Paranoia. Couldn't wait for his teammates. Just tries to stay alive, and that's wasted utility for Loud's attempt for the retake.
Spike planted.
Trying to throw so much util in, but nobody's left the site yet.
Even Sadak didn't have a chance here to set up a flash. Caught out in the open. That might force the hand here of Loud to potentially save their weapons, but they're kind of caught out in the open for now. Even pushing the cause is Calm pushing into the waterfall. You definitely could see it here. Pinching the last two members of Loud. Penkata just swings out and Calm's just still once again trying to cut the rotation.
This round
will definitely go for Leviatán, but Calm
so smart.
Smart enough for that one kill. And wasting enough time for Mazzino to chase after it. And no weapons will be saved for Loud for the conversion of the bonus from Leviatán.
I mean, as we just fade out of this, you look at the mini-map, and there's 2 trips still behind Leviatán on mid and A. I was like, how is everybody in sight? Why aren't they even checking flank? And they don't have to. They have all the info they need ahead of them. Looking at waterfall, looking at spawn. aacute pushing as fast as he can into spawn, not even letting Loud breathe on the defensive side this round. And the last kills in spawn as they were chased down, blood in the water. This is from Leviatán is planned and calculated so well in the first 3 rounds there to get themselves this lead. We do see the shotgun coming out from Kawenzine. They're trying to set up some close range attacks here with 3 at C.
Just a play that Loud even did against EG on this map, just trying to get the fault line so that the Neon could push forward at the bound and hopefully catch some players off guard. As Loud, in the eco that they had, or that they have currently, had 3 players getting ready to fight back towards the C mount. That keeps 2 players anchored up now as Leviatán's working back towards the C site.
And there's these trips again that were there last round. This allows Leviatán to keep pushing forward, not even have to leave a flank, which means you have more on the swing, more to face your opponent. And yeah, so comfortably in this position now, but they're not using the lurker just yet. They're all 5 to a site, leaving the rounds to come. Ooh. Possibly have that lurk, but it's not gonna matter.
2 kills with the Bucky, and that forces the Rolling Thunder out. Both of them hit towards the back of the side are Loud players. Now concussed, trying to stay alive. Sadak's able to get one before even the trips over Mazzino, and Loud answers with the Thrifty.
The Bucky from Kawenzine comes up with 2 immediately, holding the site down for the rest of the squad to come in. We've seen Penkata's share of shots already as he comes back into stage 2, back into VCT Americas, and a little bit of that peppered in from both of those players picks up a very, very nice low-buy round here that Lev was not expecting. Everything has been working so clean for Leviatán, so I think they may even let their guard down a little bit on that round. Just enough for Loud to sneak in. Kawenzine. Nightfall there. Less ultimate as well. Calm is going to be able to answer back here. Sending out some nightmares on round 5 if they want. So this is now where they start to insert the lurk, right? Tex is away from the team. They're not playing a ball of 5 anymore on the side of Lev, but they're still working towards A. What they've been doing for the first few rounds here to keep Loud guessing.
That Thrifty you just got from Loud adds a little bit of hope here for them to keep the game close. Upgraded with so many weapons. Economy is good so far, but Leviatán still has their own bias and converted the bonus round in round number 3. So an important gun round for both of these teams. Nightfall activated to start on the attack as Leviatán seems committed to hit towards his B side. Tex gets one through the smoke, and that's the star player of Kawenzine dropping first.
All right, so a new strat in the book that they haven't used at least this Loud scene this game.
With that kill, there's no Nightfall to answer back from the defending side. Tex now fighting back towards the revolving door, pushing Penkata away, forced to reopen that sliding door, and actually both Loud players on the extremities of the B side winning their own battles. Advantage back in favor of the defensive side. Forcing now Leviatán to push out towards the spawn. King even wins the fight towards Hobbit, as now Penkata, the second one to come through, and as they flood win 1 by 1, the fault line got avoided by Mazzino, but Les was just greeting him on the other side. And Loud now converts 2 rounds in a row right off the Thrifty on this previous round.
Looked like it was going to get very scary there for a second, but yeah, Loud, they play the retake, I think, just
try the same old
without needing everything that they would have on a composition they have full protocol on. I'm kind of looking at Tui's, right? The Raze has been going down. They're not getting that util, so they're just back to kind of, all right, put up a smoke, make sure this angle, what are you peeking, where's your paranoia, hit a fault line, dodge a fault line. They're kind of just going down to the basics here to get these rounds back because it does not look like it's super, super clean, but the shots are hitting, and that's why we're seeing Loud come back through right now. That was a defuse, another round. They're going to put Lev down on a low buy here with a Hero King rifle. Few ultimates there to be used on both sides. This is now a lot different from Lev to spread the map. They push up A.
And that's why you have King on his Vandal, because Aspas has the overdrive. So they're faking this B-side. They're even pushing across, and they're about to pinch against Pankata. Looking back towards the front, he's still able to take one before he falls. A great start for Loud, just to delay for a bit and give a chance here for Loud to rotate back. And there's that flank from the back.
Oh my gosh!
The adjustment on the second one onto Kawatsin opens up the C site, but looks like Leviatán wants to pump back towards B. This is where Sadak is waiting. There's that first, there's that second one as he gets blinded and falls back to even the situation and gives a chance for Loud to fight.
These are some hot shots, man. What the hell was that from Tex? Then the answer from Sadak under pressure of everybody rushing the front side of B. Everyone on their toes now here for round 6. This is going to be a big swing in the economy.
Spike planted.
If anybody can grab it and start to push down with these ultimates we have coming up too, I think we're going to get a swing in the whole game.
And zero utility for Leviatán. And let's open up the door. You know he's going to be good for that fight. And as you look on the other end, Tex pinned inside that side. Full util, not even used as Sadak sneak through from Hobbit door. And allows Loud to tie the game 3-3 on the defensive side.
All right, so Loud are stacked with cash. This should be a buy. One more time here from Lev that Loud should be able to go for the throat on the defensive side and break it and start to take the lead. But we'll have to see. Teams that they have answered so well at this combination Leviatán's been throwing. That time it was kind of 3 towards B with a few towards the C side. Lev loved to play this open the door game at certain times and try to figure out what they can do. Loud also plays the open door game all the time, but that was more so when we saw Sadak on the Neon, so maybe they'll switch it up themselves. As we do get a timeout here, like we've been seeing, things are getting a little hectic from those first few rounds we saw from Lev, so see if they can slow it down.
Especially since that 50 round from Loud. They've been able to string these 3 rounds across, and Nito calling the timeout, realizing here on that previous round where it seems like Leviatán understood that there was going to be a heavy rotate towards the C site and they could trust just snowballing back into B.
Yeah.
But they were missing a little bit of that protocol where they kind of were antsy and they fell in front of the utility to allow for them to enter towards this B side. So you need now to calm the situation. Leviatán, they only need this single victory to clinch the top 2 spot going into playoffs. So they really want this as much as Loud wants to stay alive here for playoff possibilities on the Brazilian team.
It's coming down to the shots, Vans. I think last round was a very good showing
display,
of
yeah,
that.
Definitely.
Display of the shots from Tex, and then Sadak had to pull his own out with all the util flying around. It came down to those kills back and forth to really separate the round, and I think it's going to keep happening that way. Loud doing a nice job, though, being able to cycle through these ults, but still have a few up. And like we said, this is the round they want to go for the throat. 2,900 credits going over to the side of Lev does not really get them all a buy next round, so we'll have to see what Lev has. Switching it up again, just putting Sadak on that right side for this stall, a slow. And they may try to take a little bit of control of this C mound to start, because Leviatán looks like they want the same there. The trips go back to the same setup, though, for Leviatán. They knew that was working for them, where they could just focus forward and not have to worry about someone that's pushing, someone that's getting info from Loud on an extremity.
And for Leviatán, you definitely could see here, they're kind of going back to the default protocols of working Lotus. A 4-1 split to kick things off, trying to create some noise, but actually not really inserting text towards the A side. He's actually trying to work up towards the middle, where Loud still looks pretty decent on these positions. 2-2-1 set up on the defensive side, and you have the line of sight on Tui's with the operators, so they could play this 2-2-1 comfortably.
God, with how fast Sadak has gone from tree to the left side, it's like he's still playing Neon. Like back and forth on this map to try and get the fault line or the flash points in the right spot to deny the play. A little bit of love towards a rubble. Just a bit of fake here. But there's a touch from Lev almost on every part of the map right now as they still know C Mound is hit. Looks like they're going to play the door game again. And they are going to the strong site. Sadak has called this so well.
With so many ultimates as well for Loud to deny the first wave of utility coming in from Leviathan towards this C site. And it starts with the Rolling Thunder. That stops everybody in their tracks. They have to open the door. Khaled even gets one through the smoke, and that's Aspas. Duelist down for Leviathan. Zeno, though, is able to walk through and get his own kill back onto Kawadzin, even things up on a 4v4, but there's only 18 seconds left. So now Leviathan have to commit towards the seaside. There's that haunt to come through. It does get a ping once again, so nobody's breaking it. An opportunity now for Leviathan to turn it around, but Les is still holding his ground inside C. There's a 1-for-1, but there's Pankana getting two right outside the smoke. There's no time left, and Loud will take the lead now on this first map.
What a scattered round, back and forth, and then nobody's shooting the haunt? You shoot it. Oh, you're gonna shoot it? I'm gonna shoot it? That cannot happen at this level. You have to have the communication there. You can't just be haunted. Simple abilities coming through, absolutely thwarting the Lev hold on the site, and allowed so confidence on the play. They took down a bunch of members of Lev on the entry, then the chip damage. I don't think they were feeling the pressure too much there. The fans are loving that, and they said that's the round that was gonna really hurt. Lev scraped together one more with low by armor, zeros in the pocket there.
Now we're juggling the operator too, this time in the hands of Pankana. Knowing here that you have no more of that showstopper from Tui from a couple of rounds ago, they probably want to leverage him a bit to take control of the defensive side of Loud if they want to play this more aggressively. You see them working as a death ball, both initiators with Tui's trying to re-clear towards B.
It's going to be quiet once they get in there. Honestly, that might be even more scary to not know where the members of Loud are coming from.
Sadak, though, gets the wall bang. Now we're exchanging blows towards the C side with the spike down out in the open. Haunt thrown in, Les breaks it, but that gives the Yodio Q. Tex and Com, the last two players remaining here on the seaside for Leviathan. At least they have map control, but they want to work together to smother Les. There's that first peek, and there's that second one. Both denied by Les with incredible anchor play.
The anchor play and the shots right now are so good for Loud, and I say that because they almost look disjointed in the way they're taking these fights. And we saw Tui's take a fight with Sadak, and one was reloading as they backed up. They're still hitting it. They're still able to cover each other. So Mizzino takes out that first one, and then we see here the reload, and Tui's is standing there. He goes down. You think that would be a poor trade, but no, they're there to cover. Doesn't matter what they're facing. Loud squeaking these rounds by, and they do get a lead that's going to matter now. Low purchase here for Lev, and Loud is just throwing these shots back as hard as Leviathan wants to bring it.
Hard right now for Leviathan to take map control. A 1-3-1 setup as Tex was trying to find where the aggression was, and it looks like he spotted quite a few on the pressure towards Rubble, but once again, a quick call by Sadak to stack the players back towards B. It becomes a good read for now. Paranoia to slow down Leviathan's attempt to move inside, and they breaks the timing. The wall comes down, and it's free reign for Loud to drop the players coming through, and that spike out in the open and now covered by Loud.
Man, Sadak back on some initiator utility has such a great effect on the game. Just having that mind be able to stall and promote situations for the team is incredible. Leviathan don't even last the first 30 on that round, and Loud's gonna pick one up at B.
It definitely brings back the conversation now of Loud looking at this roster, at this composition, kind of puts them at a best in slot.
Yeah.
Tui's is looking pretty decent here since that piss round, but for everybody else, they are pulling their weight. They're also shooting as we see them as they're comfortable in these roles here for Loud, and it's making very troublesome for Leviathan to get any grasp of their attack side on a Lotus here.
And what we used to hear from Loud is that, you know, everybody play what you're comfortable on, and then Sadak feels like he can fill a role. And at some point, you just gotta be like, no, man, like somebody's good on this, you're good on this. And it does seem like they're taking a little bit more control towards that. As they push here, we're gonna get a 5v5 almost at Rubble.
They want to fight the stack, and that's a 1-for-1. Both duelists falling down. That's a showstopper also eliminated. Now more ults available, and Com is able to get that pickup onto Sadak as the offshot missed by Pankana. Kawadzin out in the open, now covered, and also gets a second one. Oh, Lord! All four, but King is down to 5 HP. A 1 versus 2 for King. TP's towards the C site.
Gotta be safe. Gets the plant down, just 5 HP.
I could have killed him.
And and a moment to think about how this could go down. King been in the situation many a time, and he's worn the crown to come out of it too.
Now Cage coming up. There's that first kill, and Penkata just goes in, cannon in the chest, makes that operator bang, and Loud converts once again, another round in their favor.
Man, a string of rounds now for Loud. Feeling very good on their pick here of Lotus. We see Tui's back on the raise, hasn't been since the summer of 2022. And while it's not huge, it is giving Loud that kind of presence they had before. Behind each other with the util. We see these 3Ks coming out and the confidence that the players have in their positioning now to stay and not just a one and done, but basically taking out the other team. And Penkata being back on the squad seems like it's vibing too.
Definitely big smiles for him.
Yeah.
For
Look at that. Up to 3. All these rounds. These gun rounds after bonus. Loud.
The Leviatán looks like they really want to answer back right away. Overdrive, but it's not clearing towards the left, but the Prowler will through the wall, and that allows your King, or forces the players to fall back. Should I say Penkata TPing away to safety. He's trying to still get the Palpatine's hand outside the smoke, and no contact so far, but at least for Leviatán, they'll get the plant.
Just, they can't find any kills right here. Loud's doing such a good job at backing up a bit to absorb, and while they don't have positioning, they'll have some util to get back in. I feel like this one could be Lev's though.
Exactly, especially after losing Kawadzin. There's no block for the retake, but at least that util from Sadak still there. One more flash remaining, and it's a 1-for-1 at least for both of the Cyphers. Advantage still for Leviatán. There's that fault line fighting inside that smoke. And Tech steals that kill away now from Aspas. 4 versus 2. Last 2 players, you mentioned it, Rib. It looks like it's going to be a round for Leviatán, especially after Tui loses the op. Clock is ticking. Penkata will also lose his weapon as Leviatán finally finds something to fight with here in round 11.
I feel like that they didn't want that operator once it became a site take. It's just slowing them down. They're still going to get another one out though because they are rich beyond belief on the side of Loud right now. And you see this open up towards the left side of the map. A great push in. Lev really had to stop the bleeding here and get themselves a few more. The 9-3 never hurts, but a 7-5 looks so much better if they can get these final rounds here. All right. Kawadzin ultimate ready. It doesn't look like we're going to get too much more on this round, so that's one of the big ones that we'll see. As Loud actually present themselves to the front side of B for one of the first rounds here with that many players. Slow on the door too. This is going to be wild.
He's got to contact so many players. And there's Kawadzin and sliding up the scoreboard. Tex even denied that lurk. Sadak gets that pick, and it's looking good for Loud to close out the map with the flawless ending. Will do so.
Dude. That was disgusting from Loud. And where was this confidence that we saw at the beginning, right? It was a few rounds towards Lev. I think Loud started to read it a little bit, and then they lose the bonus, but then come back with a Thrifty to carry out that many rounds with just a hiccup in the middle to give us this for the last one, a cherry on top for the first half. That was disgusting from Loud to kind of recoup and brush off the cobwebs.
Such great utility coming out from Loud here on the defensive side. A new comp looking good, and we'll see if they could continue this after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. In a situation we certainly didn't think we'd find ourselves in the half. Loud are up, but they're not just up. They are playing phenomenally, shutting down Leviatán at every corner, every turn that Lev makes here. But we have one of the rounds here, Mimi, that really you wanted to dive into and talk about.
I mean, this is the turning point, this eco round win for Loud. And I mean, man, this team looks night and day compared to what we were seeing through the rest of stage 2. Tui's looks confident on the raise, had some good moments throughout. I think the team's coordination was on point, especially when they're playing these flood retakes with excellent util from Sadak on that breach. And honestly, some good satchel movement from Tui's as well.
Isn't it what crazy, like what happens when like the rolls are actually like right for
when the rolls are good?
Yeah, like look at what can happen. But also a good note that we all made a point of is that Loud are like they know how to shut down Aspas.
Sure.
Yeah, and we heard it in the interview from Pancata. It's like, how do we stop this guy from getting any type of momentum?
It's crazy. I mean, it honestly feels like the Loud with Sadak on Neon was some horrible fever dream, and we've woken up and things are reasonable again. Great breach utility, a great start. 8-4 on defense is excellent.
It really did feel like some Mirrorverse type of action there. But now let's go ahead and send it back over to your casters for the second half.
Definitely here, we've woken up from that fever dream and definitely looking like a Loud roster that looks like that championship roster from the past few years. But there's still a big question mark about those satchels. It'll be answered later on, though, as we do have Leviatán trying to fight aggressively at the beginning towards this C mountain. And as we open this door for Leviatán, they're able to even things up on a 3-3 situation with Tui's low on HP. Only a Sheriff in hand. The wide swing out, and Aspas gets that pick, and Leviatán takes the advantage on the pistol.
This lurk coming through from last is crazy. Well, he's all the way in spawn already. And they're going to know. There's like, wait, there's no timing anywhere on the map now. We just have to think every angle is dangerous.
Last player
They have to get him quick.
Yeah. And now the double face. And Aspas gets the headshot onto Pancata, so Leviatán will be able to get their own pistol round here.
Gotta go.
All right. See if they can keep it after the bonus this time. Only one round out of those first 3 was able to come in at 11. They have the weapons to play it strong. In the first round, Leviatán actually comes out really strong towards the door. Like you said, last time we saw Loud play Lotus, it was the Neon, a little different comp, but they were playing that door a lot, so maybe Leviatán's trying to get in that game a little early. As the cam goes out, it's going to be a very slow one from Loud here.
They definitely want to play some range. Tui's invested into a share, so did Less. They're trying to look for that long-range fight towards that A site where there's only Calm Jiggle peeking first, but there's still a camera up here by Tex. They continue to fight aggressively for Loud. There's an opportunity to get that information and get Calm ready for the flood towards A.
Little delay. Oh, Calm's putting himself in a pretty crazy spot, but this is good info. Aspas has already moved out towards Long C here on Mound, so a lot of what Lev is looking at, they know is true. Trips on B. Looks like Aspas is about to have a party.
There's no fault line coming out, though, from Sadak.
Yeah.
It's on cooldown. It looks like Aspas did have a sixth sense anticipating a pushback from Loud as things stayed quiet on the A side. Falls back, and now the second war is picked up. Tui's now halfway through, getting the showstopper online as we're going back towards the A side. So nice little protocols from Loud just to make sure here they put the most chances as possible once they get the rifle rounds in.
At the beginning of this round,
30
they
seconds left.
started Mazzino on the left side towards C. The movement was towards A, so this hold here has been the call for Loud's play the whole time.
It's too good.
Oh my gosh.
Great players there with stay calm just because Aspas, you could trust them solo holding this
Exactly. Trust Aspas, he pushes out, gets more info. Mazzino does not have to rotate back over, and they're ready for the Loud re-hit right away. Patience from the side of Loud, knowing they don't have to move too much on that eco. Lev's doing so good right now at reading that. But only in the first few rounds, it's got to go longer. It's got to go further. We got to see a little bit more here.
And what was that piece of util that allowed Leviatán to push through was that camera once again placed behind that double stack. And Lev having a little bit in terms of their defensive protocols of how to want to fight back against Loud.
Get a quick relay bolt out C long. Aspas alerts them that that's his position, but he moves quickly. So they're just trying to get in the mind of Loud here as Loud reads the map themselves. I like this patient play and re-hit from Loud. The way that Loud, on Lotus mostly, is they do love to do the fakes. Whether they re-hit a site at 15 seconds, they'll be at C and then they BC. That's B site, not BC. Because they're going in here on the smoke, just slowly playing it.
It's dangerous too, though. That Sadak was the first one trying to peek out with the spike. Now finally, it satchel across, and the rest of Loud slowly meeting up with the 3 players entering the C site. And it will become, looks like a commit now for Loud to get this plant.
All spawn almost.
Oh, the paranoia miss, though. It was a little bit too early. They're trying to get waterfall on top of that as well, and hopefully connect towards the spawn. But now that Leviatán are actually in a forward position in the back of that spawn, they're looking to fight back. The cage comes up. It's a high-low through the smoke. But at least on the other end here, the Kickoff comes down towards the waterfall. A nice pincer maneuver for Leviatán to retake this C site. They're also on their bonus round looking to convert it once again. As now Pencada now sits alone on the top of the mound. Spike sort of planted for him here. Not until the smoke comes out. Right in the dome, and a second one there. The 2v1 clutch in favor of Loud as Pencada wins it.
I don't understand how Pencada continuously gets these clutches. I mean, I do, but the situations he's put in, the transfers he has to do with his aim and the crosshair placement is incredible. Every time, it's always some extravagant clutch, not just someone's defusing the spike, I have to shoot them clutch. Pencada has been working miracles since being back on the squad here. They get that Heretics plant high on the spot, it's gonna help kill King, and then Pencada just absolutely closes on that round.
Want to move quickly here. Once again, mount control for Aspas. One-way smoke keeping Loud at bay. And the second smoke already comes out here on the defensive side in front B. Nice haunt being thrown at least, though, on the attack side from Kalanzine, so you can't play as aggressively for Leviatán towards the C entrance.
Slow walk towards A. If Lev can keep the game in this situation where they always have the fade and the breach util to keep getting in the site, their retakes should be so good.
And the fault line doesn't allow here Tui's to move in. You saw the relay bolts on top of that, and just from behind the execution behind the box. And Leviatán are just anchoring towards this B site with so many players, a 3-player stack. No chance now for Loud to execute inside this B site. Despite them winning that round, only came in with 2 Vandals and pistols. And now it's Les left alone with the Sheriff against a full roster and the healthy roster of Leviatán. None of them hit by any damage, and to continue to survive with no damage.
Tax is just hanging out at A. They don't even need him. Like you said, a very healthy Leviatán after that round. And yeah, fault line and forward, who's really going to be there, right? Somebody behind the box, that's who. Another quick kill there towards B. And now Leviatán have to think about what Loud can do for this one. Pencada's actually down onto a low buy still for this one with the Sheriff. They're going to get a push out. They've been switching out how they've been playing this from the defensive side almost every time. Now it's King in Aspas to go off that left side instead of Mazzino. So really making Loud have to kind of do a little fact-finding missions to see where's the breach playing, where's the fade playing, where's the util coming from in the beginning of each one of these rounds, slowing it down ever so slightly.
Aspas avoiding the fault line, and a Boombot now definitely shows that Leviatán are not afraid to fight once again towards the C control at mound, so pivoting all of Loud towards this A site, but there hasn't been too much of an early rotation out of Leviatán on the defense. They still have 2 players towards this A site.
And a lot of that util was just used at C, so they're going to have to pressure into the site with contact on this one. Maybe a Paranoia, that Prowler. Oh, okay, they have the combo set. The protocol's ready. Can they get the kills?
Counter haunt coming out too. That pings the 2 players in the front, but cannot land the shots as Tex, but Calm is still there to at least avenge his teammate for 1 kill. Les continues to be opener, but look at the HP remaining on some of these players so far. Les and Sadak on 5 HP. 2 players left alive for Leviatán, as Loud does have this plant towards the A site, and as they fall back, now things have calmed down just for a bit.
That's the Loud back and forth we were just talking about a few rounds ago. Quite a bit committed to the front to see the fault line, a smoke, a bit of util, and they were already hauling ass over towards the A site.
And Sadok's already ready here with the fault line as soon as that spike gets tapped. Doesn't matter if there's a smoke coming in front of that spike rather. There's that fault line that's gonna stun both players of Leviatán, and Loud are just slowly clumping into the TA site rather. But you definitely do see it here that Leviatán cannot get the defuse, trying to do at least some damage as King gets that pick before he falls. But Loud will get that round.
Armor rebuys will have to come around, but Loud's not going to really worry about that too much. Aspas comes through with a Vandal for himself, and it should be a buy there. Really great push into the site. Seeing the fault line and all the util used over towards C made me wonder how they were going to get in. Then you saw the Paranoia go right through the middle of the site. The Prowler checked the right side, and the Aftershock clear right behind that middle pillar of A. Really clean stuff. Nobody would be able to hide. Loud found all the members of Lev that were trying to be sneaky in sight. Very spread out for a default here, as it looks like an orb grab start for Loud. And pretty big push from Lev here on their buy round to try and stick a fork in something that Loud's doing here. Just put an end to these rounds.
Sierra Les hasn't really activated his camera yet. As he hears at least utility moving forward, there is that camera that's going to spot King taking control of top rubble. Now pivoting Loud to just aggress towards the C site. It was a weak side, a good call by the IGL Sadok. As a commit now for this plan, at least for the tap, to try to waste that utility. There's that Nightfall coming through in a wall bang from Aspas. That drops that spike. Aftershock at least trying to keep them at bay. As Mazino's already in. Big flash coming through. They're slide in from Aspas, hit by the Paranoia at the same time. Tex does manage to get out. Slide for another frag. And that was a combo by Leviatán on that hold.
Damn, things are getting real cool right now. Loving these retakes. Leviatán there just said, screw your utility. We're pushing through the site, and we will be there. Even I felt like it was even a little off when we saw the flash go in, and then the wall go up. I was like, all right, so that flash kind of just allows them into the right side of sight. And then when we did switch observers, we're just in smoke because there's so much util in sight. And then you see Aspas slide out, and it's like everybody was attached to him by a cord. And you see all the kills start to come in. Just absolute chaos that Lev's trying to create here with this Neon play as the retake.
Basically playing chain together and making it work for the retake for Leviatán.
Good thing we're not on Abyss. Oh, man. All right, towards mid, a little bit of a B play here from Loud as they try to put a little bit of strength on that B site. You could actually see Sadok was looking over towards A for a fault line if they had less find any fight. So thinking about the whole map still as Loud's getting their first pushes in the touch and go just to get Lev moving around. But it looks like they're happy to be solid in their starting spots.
Loud has had a hard time here getting their economy right despite these rounds that they're getting in their favor for a bit on their attack side. You can definitely see the best weapon that they have currently in round number 19 is this Guardian in the hands of Les working together with Kawadzine, just to try to see if Leviatán really wants to try to push out. And now off the camera that got thrown out and instantly broken here, Loud are just going to continue to be patient and hold towards the spawn.
Loud just as worried about a Bucky. And they're like, they could do the same thing. Waiting for a low buy sneaky play here from Lev. But really, Lev's just wanting to figure out where Loud's coming from. Not too much sneaky stuff is actually set up here. But Loud's still going to run the map. They're not going to leave anything to chance.
It was definitely a combination attempt there from Loud, or Leviatán rather, as he had that C's Aftershock. Now Loud with 10 seconds left, have to move inside the C site. Calm being an anchor at this pillar becomes once again another stronghold. Thankfully for Loud, they get the plant to get the economy rolling.
Yeah, that is big. Coming in strong, and I think that's a huge one, especially on the lower buy, right? Get a little bit more money across everybody. They weren't able to chip too much armor off, but it's really just about hitting the headshots anyways, right? So let's see what they can do coming into this next round. Khan, 18 and 13. Said he's been feeling like the best he has ever right now. A world champion man, feeling like the best. I mean, what he had, like 8 2Ks in the previous series? Just, you know, You get 2, your job is done. You can say, I've done my job that round, and he has been absolutely getting paid for these rounds right now. Let's see this timeout coming in from Loud, I believe, as they discuss the hemorrhaging of these past few rounds here in the second half.
Love the handshake, at least between Calm and King that we just saw the exchange there before this timeout was called. So the vibes are definitely good for Leviatán, despite it looking pretty labored on how Loud looked good on their defensive side. Both of these teams actually looking quite good, holding the defensive end here of Lotus. This timeout is definitely going to mean a lot. This is a full buy for both of these teams. As remember, Loud got that plant on the Thrifty round, so that allows them to add a lot more utility and potentially work around this rolling thunder that's available for Sadak, but they're still falling behind by the amount of ults that Leviatán has.
They are, absolutely. And to see Loud come through here, we got to get Tui's going. He's not having a bad game, but to get that raise pressure in, make sure they're focusing that orb still. We've seen them go towards C quite a bit of time to pick that up for Tui. So still to actually be able to create the pressure from the raise position. I feel like Loud can do that too and just capitalize on these next few rounds. That timeout definitely puts something in the mix. We'll see what they have in mind. Like you said, they're going to have to work against the Rolling Thunder, but also have their own here. Does Leviatán go back to taking this A pressure? At least to insert.
Bring them down.
Or make believe that they did, as the rest of the map is worked here by Loud towards C.
Especially when the fast lane came out, the wall out from Aspas, making him think here that they're working towards the rubble. But back to a 2-2-1 setup.
Ooh.
My ult is ready.
So they go for the instant one. Can always get Tui's more in the following rounds to come.
Definitely see here they're looking for any of these players on both sides. The first one to make a misstep. Already the fault line's being prepped up by Mazino. It allows for them to jump spot. Realize now that there's nobody towards the C site. Pressure will be coming in for Tex.
Is it going to be enough time, though? They're calling the rotation, but they're just one side away right now. They'll be on the heels of Loud for this take. And Loud are trying to take back the economy and take back the flow of the game right here.
And Nightfall confirms now that Tex is playing passively in the back of the A site. These 2 rolling thunders on both ends are going to be so important, and it goes out instantly as the spike was left to get planted. Pankata scores first, though, from the side of Loud. Cowating still tries to get this plant in, and they'll be able to do so now for Loud, holding back on the outside of the A site. 3 players of Leviatán are already towards that back. Drop it down. Tex again! The drive on 2 players of Loud gets denied. Advantage back here for Leviatán. King trying to find the information as the door gets open here towards this A site. Overdrive, though, denied right away. And there's that last player finally spotted. It's Tui's. Tests it now as his role as a duelist. The jiggle peek coming out from Calm. The white swing from Tex after the tap. Gets 3 in the round, and Leviatán ties the game.
Just played so calm. Such good communication between those 2 as well. Calm might have just been able to hold back the player, right? And then the defuse happens from a distance, but no. Teamwork, bring them both out, go for the double face, just get the kill. Both teams, I think, are playing for the for sure strategies right now. Pays off there for Leviatán. Again, another back and forth from Loud. Fans, you keep doing the back and forth. Lev's gonna read it that much better almost every time. Man, the King is just really bringing the guys to the right spot here for the defensive spot as Sadak tries to work around these defensive positionings.
They've been masterclass calls on the defensive side for both of these IGLs. Remember these calls from Sadak with these stacks too. Both teams so comfortable on the defensive side, and once again, a little bit out of the strat book here of Loud as you have 2 players inserted towards the C mount, but this time it's not Aspas because Aspas has the op.
Shadows traveling. Oh man, King is out there right now. Okay, double smokes go down. Not going to be a problem there at Mound. And you're right, that operator is out and waiting just behind the smokes at C. So how good is it going to be for a retake at A as we start to push back across?
And now a second test, an opportunity for Tui's on this raised roll.
We need to see it.
Showstopper is now out. The satchel in to clear out towards the tree, spotted by the camera. So this will be an easy clear. At least space gain now for Loud to overtake the A side, and Leviatán's just ready to retake.
And that's all it needed to be, right? Getting that pressure, and you have the raise, use the raise's ultimate. They do get it online. And now it's going to have to be the shots. This is one that Loud was not able to capitalize on last round with the shots from Tex Grab in 3. And they're already in sight, ready to defend.
And a hard retake with the operator in the hands of Aspas, and Pencata's pushed forward at the staircase, head-to-head against Mazzino, and he's going to be able to get that fight. Advantage once again for Loud. They want to push across the smoke that was thrown on the defensive side. 3 players left alive for Leviatán, swarming back towards the A site as it gets delayed, denied on the defuse from the aftershock of Sadak. The second tap, Kelsey closes the door from behind. King now left alive on a 1 versus 3, was a 1 versus 4. But Loud is able to have a clean post-plant hold.
More so post-plant as well with a breach utility. We haven't really seen them do that too much. It's been used within the round. They haven't been able to stall Lev, and that was a nice job of not fighting Lev, of being able to avoid them as much as they could until that time came when Leviatán was forced into the fight and didn't feel comfortable. I don't think we've really seen that positioning from the side of Loud here in the last few rounds. They've been behind and reactive. Finally in that plant, proactive. Towards A, all 5. And even a switch up from Lev here towards A.
Exactly, Calm came out with an Odin. Did a little bit of a love tap through the wall onto Les, and that's a 1-for-1. The Garesha comes out. There's that beautiful hot thrown out too on the defensive side to get all of these assists.
Oh, nice shooting from Tex. It's now going to be the 3v2 with the Odin ringing out from Tree, causing even more chaos, less positions to stand in these fights. Man, Loud must be pulling their hair out when they try to run that 5 out of rubble for this round 22. Lev is standing right there taking pictures.
Not afraid of that smoke dissipating. Now Pencata's alone.
Jeez.
Back to another tied game as it continues to go back and forth. An amazing series that we're witnessing so far, and it's just the start between Loud and Leviatán.
And to think we're getting this from the 7-1 and 3-5 on the Americas records right now. 7-1 Leviatán, 3-5 Loud. A timeout from Loud again, even after just a few rounds there, to make sure they're collected and pull it back in their favor after Lev tie it up again, like you said. What a back and forth. I feel like I just want to have an interview with Sadak and King after this and be like, what were you thinking on this round at this point? What about this point? What did you do to get around this strategy on round whatever? Oh my gosh, they have been working overtime in the brain right now.
And this exactly, at least on that previous round, what Leviatán were thinking, that they were not afraid to fight back against the aggression of Loud. If Loud wanted to fight very quickly, aggressively towards the A rubble, they have an answer for that. And Loud, that was one of those rare rounds here that we see on their attack side that are trying to up that tempo, especially when they've lost 3 rounds in a row before they were able to convert a round on their side to take the lead here in the series, 11-10. But they're realizing that the fast tempo, when you have so much utility that you mentioned many rounds ago for Leviatán, it's still hard to fight against that.
And just look at the scoreboards. Look at the story it tells. Like our duelists, the ones that are going in to just this absolute war zone and then being covered by the initiators and the sentinels, how it should be, right? You get them, they get them over your shoulder, throwing pies at the enemy. And yeah, 22-14 Tax, Pencata 17-14 on top for Loud. And the duelists this time are the fodder of the game, but it is exactly what needs to happen.
And they're risking a lot here for Loud. Look at their buys. Stingers, Vandal, and they have nothing left in the round. Trying to close it out right here. And Calm is the one to get the first. Still gets a wall there, potentially on that third, but has done enough damage to get Loud to rethink the map control here, as they went for a 4-1 setup, and maybe a lot of it has to fall in the hands of the lurk now of Les.
Easy clear. They know they still have a bit of tree control. And Leviatán goes back to these almost default defensive positions, right? Where they're holding the original angles of the round. Not forward, not putting themselves in danger. Lev sees one.
As you mentioned that, Tex did put himself in danger. B-side open, Mazzino waiting just behind. There's a Nightfall with the fault line. Aftershock into the site. It does connect onto one as Loud are forced to fight inside that side. Running through, greeted by Calm once again with the Odin. Sadak now stands alone, hit by the seas. The paranoia on top of that. The utility continues to be overwhelming for Leviatán versus Loud.
Mazino's movement there was sick. Just the way he used Flashpoint there and then just check the corner, instant identify of where the last member of Loud was on the attack side. The fault lines within the site, just great movement around the utility to maximize how it worked. And Calm, it's only been a few rounds Calm's had that Odin and Tree, right? So Loud feel comfortable to go back to that side. They weren't affected by it last time. Well, there you go. Calm literally just trips 2 people up with the Odin, and that was basically the round.
Definitely looked too that Tex potentially had that camera on the A side because there was one player pinged out trying to run away here as Calm gets the Odin spray. One thing to commend here on Calm's utility from last week into this week continues to be a pivotal initiator player for Leviatán's success.
Stuff.
And now giving a chance for Leviatán to close up the first map against Loud. On Loud's map pick, a change coming out on their end, trying to pull out all stops, trying to stay alive here for a chance to still reach playoffs on their end, on the side of the Brazilian team.
You can see what Loud put into this too, how much Lev has had to kind of struggle to get their form on for this game, and now Aspas pushes again to get the form here at Mount.
And counter paranoia coming out too on the attack side on the B, thankfully from Picada, to at least keep the players of Loud alive here. In the back of the C, it looks like they were about to get swarmed.
This is the iconic re-hit would be around for Loud here. Just wait out the clock, get this utility back up. I mean, fault line's already ready, so they could go for something tricky to start.
And that first wave, that trap play attempted by Leviatán, doesn't give them enough utility here to try to hold back the attack on the C side. At least the weapons will. King answering first onto Tui's attempt to enter the site.
30 seconds left.
The pivot goes back for Loud. Trip onto one, TP across. Hat coming through to get some information as Sadak tries to get this plant down. Tex trying to look for a play. Cage comes up. Calm just waiting here with the Odin. Aspas feeling that it was 2 players pushing out towards the spawn against them. And they're still delaying all of these plans. Finally, it's committed. Les is able to get a sneak through, but Aspas still able to get 2 kills first. And that will nullify all of that lurk coming through from Les. Watched by King, dropped by King, and Leviatán will get the defuse and the win of map 1.
What a first map of this series. Leviatán, they may make it a series where they do put a tarnish on that Loud record. But we will have to see. There's a lot more game to go, and for Loud to come out looking a little bit more comfortable. They look stronger. It looks like they feel good in their spots, but still falling a little bit short of the power that Leviatán still brings to the table, making waves with whatever they do here. And you still got Aspas on the front line, but man, Calm and Tex on the top at 22 and 23 kills. Those 2 overall for both stages have been showing up.
Yeah, especially when they were questioned so many times where it's always the Aspas King or Mazina show and the other one's falling behind. They're definitely stepping up to the plate here to give a chance for Leviatán to close the series. Next map coming up will be Icebox to see if they can close it with a 2-0.
One enemy remaining.
Hey guys, it's Jimmy Lin. In this series, I'm going to walk you through attack on Pearl. Watch out for the stairs, clear this angle. You're going to be able to fight this.
Red Bull gives you wings.